Hello and welcome back to Planet Nibiru. As we track the incoming approach of Planet X, when stars collide, so it looks like we're going to be able to see the spectacular collision of two suns, and that will create a new star in the night sky in 2022. However, I have to wonder, because they're talking about this is going to be a red nova, and it will burn so brightly that everyone will be able to see it, and it will be the brightest thing in the sky for about 2 or 3 years, and then it will fade back down. Now, this comes from the Telegraph Science section, and basically it says that at the beginning of the 3rd century there was a civil war raging in Britain, and the Roman Emperor Septimus Severus sought to quell the unrest in the north, and little did they know that overhead there was a huge cataclysmic explosion in another part of the galaxy. 1800 years later, the light from that collision will finally arrive on Earth, creating a new star in the night sky called the Boom Star. And this is going to be happening in Cygnus constellation. So we will have this new star here, and it says for the first time in history, parents will be able to point to a dark spot in the sky and say, watch, there's going to be a star coming up soon, and it will soon appear. And it says that it will be one of the brightest stars in the sky before dimming and returning to normal brightness after about 3 years. So the two stars previously were not bright enough to be seen from Earth, but since they did come together and make a new star, we will get this red dwarf. Now, red dwarf obviously signals something to those of us who follow Planet X, and we cannot help but wonder, are they admitting that we will start to see Planet X and see its approach? A red dwarf star that is that bright. Brown dwarfs we cannot see. I have to wonder how powerful or how big or how close this red dwarf will be for us to be able to see it. And although this forecast was made by one of the, and I'll get to the scientist's name down here in just a second. Although they're talking here about the 3 wise men who followed the Star of Bethlehem to the birth of Jesus, and the correlation that this might be something similar to that. So this binary star system is about 1,800 light years away, and so it takes light 1,800 years to get here from that constellation, and they found it. Look at the size of this telescope. Wouldn't it be nice to have something like this in the backyard? Yeah, Professor Larry Molnar and his team at Calvin College noticed and made this prediction that we'll see it in 2022. So I will leave a link down below so you can read the whole article on this. I think it's very relative to what we are talking about with Planet X, and it could be some type of cover-up for the fact that Planet X will be appearing in the sky. So let me know what you think. Get in the comment box down below and tell me if you think that this could possibly be something to do with Planet X, or maybe it just is truly 2 stars that came together a long time ago, and somehow these folks were able to predict it and know that it will be in the sky in about 5 years. So very interesting stuff there. Love to hear your thoughts on that. We can look at some of the volcanic and the seismographic activity around the world. Today it seems relatively calm, although we did have over 250 tremors on the border of California just a couple days ago. That was all within one day, 250 different small shocks that happened right around the border of California and Nevada, and that was about 2 days ago that happened. So we are seeing an uptick in seismic activity. We can also take a look at an interactive map of all of the volcanic activity around the planet. These are all of the active volcanoes that are currently active around the planet. So, but all in all, we're seeing what we're considering normal for these days. Obviously, this is not normal with the spike of activity that we've seen in the past few years. So we have those two things which fit in the pattern for what we are expecting with this planet incoming. And then I recently found this article yesterday that NASA has found two mysterious objects hurtling toward Earth. One they say is a comet, and then the other they're not sure if it is a comet or if it is just an asteroid. And they have sent this, they have a new detection system out there. It's basically a satellite that goes out there and is scanning the near Earth area to find these objects that may be coming in towards Earth. They put together a little video here. It's more of an illustration. It's not really a video. This is just a 3D illustration of the system that's going to go into place that will actually be out there monitoring 24/7 and looking for objects that are headed towards our planet that could be potential threats. Now, hopefully this thing will be posted in an orbit that allows it to see to the south at certain points, because we know that that's where we're supposed to be looking for Planet X or Nibiru to be coming from. It should be approaching us from the deep, deep south. So in order to see this, the only people that have actually really gotten pictures have been people who have been flying at very high altitude, and especially the people who are flying at high altitude over South America and even further south, down towards the bottom of South America or towards Antarctica. Now we know that recently Buzz Aldrin was down in Antarctica along with John Kerry being down in Antarctica around the same time. That's one of those things that I think is intriguing and makes you kind of wonder what these guys were doing down there and what they were doing down there at this time. John Kerry being part of the outgoing administration, you would think that if he was going to take some last minute trips, it would be somewhere nice or warm or pleasurable. Certainly not Antarctica. However, we do know that there is a lot of controversy surrounding Antarctica and what's actually down there, and some people believe that there is land beyond the Arctic Circle that perhaps some folks don't know about. Some people believe that there are resources buried in the Arctic or under the ice in the Arctic that people are looking to mine and take advantage of. So there's a lot of controversy around that particular subject, and of course there are right now there's a lot of folks who believe in flat Earth and who are saying that, of course, if you've studied flat Earth at all, the Admiral Byrd and his story of how he went beyond the Arctic Circle and found a warm, green, lush land as big as the United States down there, and it was untouched by man, and that it does exist, and it does have a warm climate somehow. So that's pretty interesting, although I personally, flat Earth doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. But I can't, I have an open mind and I'm willing to listen to those arguments. And some of the arguments actually have a little bit of merit, but it's just hard for me to wrap my mind around a flat Earth, especially when I'm doing the research on Planet X and I'm doing the research on the Mandela effect and things like that. So I really don't have time to research the flat Earth at this point. However, it is something I'd like to take a look at in the future. So you can see this object has deployed some smaller objects that then deploy a system of solar sails with a solar power cells that open up to some solar collectors, and it is powered by solar. And then of course this big reflective sail here is basically that. It's a solar sail, and it uses the sun's energy to push it through into its
intended path, and it catches the rays and when the solar energy that push it throughout the galaxy so that it can float around and look for potential hazards that might be heading towards Earth. So we have the main satellite that then deploys several of these smaller, I don't know if you'd call them satellites or maybe seekers or objects, but these objects then would deploy to study the asteroid or the incoming comet or whatever it is that they found that would be heading towards the planet. So, but back to the article, it says NASA has recently spotted two massive space objects hurtling towards Earth. While the American agency has pinpointed one as a comet, the other has left it slightly more baffled. The comet is set to fly by close to Earth this week, but the mystery object isn't expected to make an appearance until February. The object, dubbed 2016 WF9, was detected by NASA's Asteroid and Comet Hunting NEOWISE project on the 27th of November 2016. It is roughly a third to a little over a half mile across, and it's in an orbit that takes it on a scenic tour of our solar system. And I believe down here they say that one of these objects has a several thousand-year orbit. The other one has about a 5-year orbit. At its farthest distance from the Sun, it approaches Jupiter's orbit, and then over the course of 4.9 years, it travels inward, passing under the main asteroid belt and the orbit of Mars until it swings just inside Earth's own orbit. After that, it heads back out into the solar system. NASA scientists are not sure whether it's a comet or an asteroid, and they believe that it has cometary origins. So we do have these two incoming objects that we know about. Obviously, for every object that we know about, there's probably 1,000 that we don't. So keep your eyes to the skies. Maybe this is part of a larger system that we are moving through, and who knows, we may see some fireballs come in, and God forbid anything would happen like say like Chelyabinsk when that meteor burst over Russia, and obviously just hurt 1,500 people on the ground. Nobody was killed, thank God, but 1,500 people were injured, and it blew out windows, it blew out doors and things like that, and caused people to go off the road. So it did have some very, very strong impact on the ground. It was like an airburst bomb, and then the shock wave reached out across an area of about 1,500 miles. So if you can imagine a shock wave that hit an area of 1,500 miles and was blowing out windows and doors and things like that, that's a pretty strong shock wave. If that had made it all the way to the ground and actually came in contact with the ground, it would have caused very, very severe and major damage. Now, these objects that we're talking about here, something a half mile wide, that would be something that would cause massive damage and could take out half a continent or so. If that hit in the middle of the United States or on one side of the United States, it would pretty much take out that side or a good portion of it. So let's just hope and pray these things move on by and that they are not joined by anything else, and that we have a calm and very unnotable January and February as far as comets and asteroids are concerned. For right now, that is all of the information that I have on Nibiru updates or Planet X updates. Thank God things have slowed down a little bit, although we are getting some serious weather this week, across the United States anyway. It's just a pretty massive winter storm with very, very low temperatures, which is out of character for the temperatures we normally receive this time of year. However, we know that with the climate changing due to what I believe is the incoming Planet X, you'll find that mainstream media would like to sell you on the fact that climate change is due to global warming, which is not at all proven. We know that we are experiencing climate change, but I believe that this is part of a much larger cycle. And I do have a theory on that, which I will be relating. At some point this weekend, we will hit 10,000 subscribers, and at that point I will be doing a 10,000 subscriber special, and in that special I will be laying out my idea of my theory of what is happening overall, and why this is, I believe, part of a cycle, and we'll be talking about these cycles and how it affects the Earth and humanity. So we're looking forward to bringing you that, and I hope you guys are having a great day. I'm actually working on another Mandela Effect video right now, actually a couple of them, so look for those over the next few days as well. But I am starting to lay out the 10,000 subscriber special, and I'd like to take this moment again to thank everybody who has subscribed, everybody who watches the videos. You guys are great. You guys have been commenting and just sending a lot of great stuff to the email box, so please continue that. Send us anything you have, especially pictures or video or any information you have regarding Planet X or Nibiru. I haven't done anything on that in about a month or so, and I've been concentrating on the Mandela thing, and then with Christmas and the holidays, it's just been kind of a busy time. So anyway, I thank you again, and we will talk to you soon.
Then it will fade back down. Now this comes from the Telegraph Science section, and basically it says that at the beginning of the 3rd century there was a civil war raging in Britain, and the Roman Emperor Septimus Severus sought to quell the unrest in the north, and little did they know that overhead there was a huge cataclysmic explosion in another part of the galaxy. 1800 years later, the light from that collision will finally arrive on Earth, creating a new star in the night sky called the Boom Star. And this is going to be happening in Cygnus constellation. So we will have this new star here, and it says for the first time in history, parents will be able to point to a dark spot in the sky and say, watch, there's going to be a star coming up soon, and it will soon appear. And it says that it will be one of the brightest stars in the sky before dimming and returning to normal.
Hello and welcome back to Planet Nibiru. As we track the incoming approach of Planet X,
When stars collide. So it looks like we're going to be able to see the spectacular collision of two suns, and that will create a new star in the night sky in 2022. However, I have to wonder, because they're talking about this is going to be a red nova, and it will burn so brightly that everyone will be able to see it, and it will be the brightest thing in the sky for about 2 or 3 years, and more brightness after about 3 years. So the two stars previously were not bright enough to be seen from Earth, but since they did come together and make a new star, we will get this red dwarf. Now, red dwarf obviously signals something to those of us who follow Planet X, and we cannot help but wonder, are they admitting that we will start to see Planet X and see its approach?